Our story begins inside of the Grand Senate building on Coruscant as Jedi Master Yoda has infiltrated the maintenance light tunnels at the top of the building. Far from above the entire Senate Rotunda, Yoda was looking down to the main pod with the light shining down on it, and he watched the newly declared Emperor Palpatine give his grand speech to the Senate. Every word of the speech was grating against Yoda's ears. He was tearing down centuries of democracy for his own power, and he was framing the Jedi Order as his reason for doing this. Yoda made his choice. If the galaxy thought he was evil, and if he was destined to be hunted down for the rest of his life, then he will show the galaxy that Palpatine is not who he says. The galaxy will see the truth. Hours ago, when Yoda was rescued by Bail Organa and his crew, this plan of attack was not exactly in the cards. Yoda and Bail reached out for other Jedi, but only Master Kenobi responded after defeating Grievous on Utapau and being betrayed by Cody and his men. So, Obi-Wan said they must return to Coruscant, disable the beacon telling all Jedi to return, and they must create a new message instead. Yoda actually agreed with this, and so the two Jedi went back to Coruscant with Bail and his crew, but upon entering the planet, plans quickly changed when Bail received a message from Mas Amedda telling him that an emergency Senate session is about to begin. Yoda's mind began to wonder if perhaps there was still a way to truly make Palpatine lose. From his point of view, the Jedi Order and the Republic have just lost the war. The Separatists lost as well, as did Dooku and Grievous. Essentially, the way Yoda saw it, everyone in the galaxy was about to lose this war except for Palpatine and those who are truly loyal to him. So, Yoda decided he must show the galaxy that Palpatine is not who he says he is. Obi-Wan wanted to argue at first, saying that the galaxy will think the Jedi are truly evil if Yoda attacks Palpatine during his speech. But Yoda told Kenobi that the galaxy already has made up their mind about the Jedi. There was no resistance, no questioning the sudden execution of the entire order. Everyone just accepted it. Palpatine slowly twisted the galactic perception of the Jedi every day for 3 years, and it all culminated in this moment. So, Obi-Wan eventually agreed to the plan. He would want to go with Yoda to fight Sidious, but Yoda said that this fight would also be a distraction that will allow Obi-Wan to go to the temple and disable the message without resistance. So Kenobi would go alone to the temple, take out the clone troopers still roaming the area, and infiltrate the archives to switch the message. Instead of telling Jedi to return to Coruscant, Obi-Wan would tell them to stay away, and soon a new hope will emerge. And now back in the Senate building, Yoda waited until Palpatine's speech was at its highest moment. The Emperor declared that the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic. But right before he could say the word Empire, something tugged at his mind, a warning through the Force. Sidious looked up just in time to see the small figure of Yoda descending through the air. Green lightsaber ignited, the blade aimed right for Sidious's head. And without truly thinking, acting purely on instinct, Sidious reached into his sleeve, pulling out his red saber, igniting it and blocking the killing strike from Yoda. Yoda flipped down to the pod railing, and Sidious could see a small hint of victory in Yoda's eyes. Sidious held his red blade, realizing what he has done. All around him, senators gasped in horror, crying out in confusion. One of them yelled that Palpatine is a Jedi, another yelled that he carries the same color lightsaber as Dooku, another yelled at Palpatine to kill Yoda. And Sidious could see a narrow way out of this. He would still have many senators on his side. He would have to just take the galaxy by force, arrest anyone standing in his way. And so as Yoda leapt back in at Sidious, the Sith Lord reached out a hand, blasting lightning right at Yoda. The Jedi Master blocked it, but nearly fell out of the pod. Yoda redirected the lightning into one of the only empty pods, and it exploded. Showering sparks, senators were yelling in fear. Evacuation alarms were beginning to play as Yoda and Sidious continued their duel on the main pod. Yoda was leaping and flipping around at a speed Sidious could barely keep up with, but Sidious's ability to move his saber, fire lightning at the perfect moment just to keep Yoda at bay, was overwhelming. As the senators were either evacuating or staring at the duel in awe, hovering cameras were flying all around them. The Imperial HoloNet was broadcasting this duel for all to see. People on the streets of Coruscant, in their homes on Naboo, the royal castles of Alderaan, they all watched as cameras flew around the Senate Rotunda, capturing a spectacle that seemed impossible. Master Yoda, one of the most well-known Jedi around the galaxy for his small stature and his title as Grand Master, was fighting Emperor Palpatine in a true lightsaber duel. The cameras saw the flash of the blue lightning, the crack of the blades. No one knew how to process this, because no one really knew what a true Sith Lord was. Many had heard rumors that Dooku, leader of the Separatists, had once been a Jedi that turned evil, and so many were now drawing that same conclusion about Palpatine. Could he too have once been a Jedi that has gone down a similar path to Dooku? No one knew how how to feel. But in the Senate, the duel would soon come to an end. Both Yoda and Sidious lost their sabers, and Sidious sprayed even more lightning than ever before right into Yoda, but Yoda was catching it. The two of them were in an even match. The lightning was building up, Yoda was barely holding on, Sidious was barely containing it, and finally, the huge sum of lightning would erupt. In the explosion, all of the HoloNet cameras were shattered instantly. The explosion sprayed lightning into nearby pods, where senators were barely able to get away before falling apart in the destruction, and both Sidious and Yoda would collapse to the Senate floor. When Yoda hit the floor, it was only moments before blaster bolts were fired towards him by clone troopers. So Yoda grabbed his lightsaber, hurrying up another tiny maintenance tunnel. He used his comms, trying to contact Obi-Wan, requesting immediate evacuation. And when Yoda was ready, Obi-Wan would be there to pick him up. Yoda was exhausted, his adrenaline higher than it had been in centuries, but he could suddenly feel something was very off with Obi-Wan upon landing in the speeder. Obi-Wan would fly the speeder to the home of Padme Amidala, one of the only people the Jedi could still trust. Obi-Wan stumbled out of the speeder. Both Yoda and Padme would ask him what's going on, and Obi-Wan just plugged a disc into Padme's holo projector. From this projector were the security recordings from the Jedi Temple. Obi-Wan was alone when he came upon them this time, and without Yoda to steer Kenobi away from them, he was stuck watching them. Being alone, he knew Yoda had to see them, so he took the recordings from the temple. Obi-Wan had watched Anakin cut down Jedi Masters, Padawans, even younglings, and now both Yoda and Padme would see it as well. Padme was heartbroken. Yoda was... Obi-Wan couldn't quite read his expression, somewhere between unfazed and also broken. Obi-Wan just asked Padme where Anakin has gone, saying they must stop him before he does any more of this violence. Padme wanted to lie. She wanted to protect Anakin, hoping somehow this wasn't true. Maybe the recordings were fake, but she knew the truth. She could see it with her own eyes. She felt it the moment he returned from the temple and told her that the Jedi betrayed the Chancellor. So she told Yoda and Kenobi that Anakin is on Mustafar, and indeed he was on Mustafar, surrounded by the slain bodies of the Separatist leaders. Newt Gunray, Wat Tambor, Sandhill, all of them spent years building up this war, prolonging it, only to be massacred on the final day. But now, Anakin was standing in front of the display table on Mustafar, watching the main HoloNet broadcasts as they all displayed a similar headline: Emperor Palpatine revealed to be some sort of dark Jedi. Anakin watched the HoloNet replays of the duel as Sidious dueled Yoda. He was unsure what to think, so he would contact his master. On Coruscant, Darth Sidious was hidden away in his lair in the industrial sector, waiting for the news to die down just a bit. Every single news channel on the HoloNet was focused on one thing: his battle. Accusations were being thrown all around of him being a Jedi or him working with Dooku and Grievous, and for the first time, Sidious didn't feel like he was in control. He was beyond angry at Yoda, more than he ever was before, and senators were making statements renouncing any loyalty to Palpatine, calling him a traitor. So Palpatine began trying to quiet these senators. Coruscant Guard clones were sent around Coruscant with a simple mission: arrest any of the senators that are going against Palpatine. They will be accused of working with the Jedi. This was necessary damage control. So senators were being rounded up and herded to Imperial prison shuttles. They would be sent as top-secret prisons around the galaxy to hopefully never see the light of day again. Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and dozens more were quickly arrested and taken away, and when this was all well underway, Sidious responded to the communication from Darth Vader all the way on Mustafar. Anakin could immediately tell that Sidious was in a panic. He could feel the galaxy turning against him, and he ordered Anakin to stay on Mustafar until the time is right to reveal Vader to the galaxy. Sidious ended the message, and Anakin was left alone once more. He looked out of a nearby window as a fiery volcano was erupting around him, and Anakin wondered if his time was coming sooner than expected. From the moment he declared his loyalty to Palpatine, he was planning to overthrow him and become Emperor himself. He just needed an excuse to take over, and thankfully, the Jedi finally did something for him. Hours later, Grandmaster Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Padme Amidala would land together on Mustafar. They were all ready for what had to be done, but to their surprise, no one was here. Anakin was gone. The confrontation would have to wait. And on Coruscant, inside of his lair, Emperor Palpatine was speaking with Mas Amedda, Sly Moore, and Sate Pestage about the statement that Palpatine would soon make to the galaxy, when suddenly, Amedda, Moore, and Pestage were lifted off their feet, choking, quickly going limp in their deaths. Sidious closed his eyes, feeling the presence of Vader. The Sith apprentice emerged from behind the corner, and Sidious quickly noticed his face was burned, clothes were damaged. Only one thing could have caused this. Vader ignited his blade as a blood-red saber emerged from it. Vader had bled his crystal, and although the crystal resisted and fought back, Vader completed the process. The red blade was lighting up the dark lair as the sun was setting on Coruscant, and Sidious could feel true fear. He'd barely survived fights with Windu and then Yoda, and now the Chosen One was here. Vader taunted Sidious, saying that everything he built for all of these years will now belong to him. He will take his empire, make it better than Sidious ever could. Sidious spat back at Vader, calling him a foolish boy, in need of another lesson. Their sabers quickly met, with a cracking sound echoing across the chamber, both of them bathed in the red light of their Sith blades. Anakin's strikes relentless, each move pushing Sidious backwards through the corridors of this lair. Anakin was using powerful strikes, enhanced by his newfound darkness, to batter Sidious's defenses. He remembered Dooku's words as he used his hatred, his anger, fury, and one overhead blow nearly broke through, forcing Sidious to leap back and flip onto a higher platform. Sidious hurled a stack of metal crates at Anakin with the Force. Anakin leapt, slashing them away mid-flight, and he surged forward once more, ducking under a second wave of lightning. Spinning into a wide slash, Sidious barely brought his blade up in time, kicking Anakin hard in the chest, sending him crashing into a panel that cracked with the impact. The Dark Lord ran forward, raising both hands, unleashing a Force shockwave that blew Anakin across the room again. Anakin flew with the impact, skidding across the floor, bouncing off another wall, but he got up quickly. Sidious ran forward, another series of strikes, but Anakin's mind was clear now, focused only on the kill. In between exchanges, their sabers locked, faces inches apart, Anakin's eyes burning with determination, the yellow glow of them matching Sidious. He was doing this for himself, to fix everything, to be seen by the galaxy for his true power. The people would have to love him, they would support his empire, Padme would join him. Sidious could feel it. He saw the same hunger he once encouraged, and he tried to back away, but Anakin hit him hard to the floor, and he reached out with the Force, ripping a support beam from the ceiling, hurling at Sidious, who split it with his saber. But that distraction was enough. Anakin was already in motion, leaping forward, landing behind Sidious, slashing diagonally across his back. Sidious stepped forward, fighting through the pain, but with one more surge, Anakin drove his lightsaber through Sidious's chest. His time to take the galaxy was now. He wanted to find Padme, tell her that the galaxy was theirs to rule, but when he went to her apartment, she was nowhere to be found. Anakin would check the Senator arrest records and saw that she was not one of the arrested ones, so he decided she would return soon. In the meantime, he would make the statement to the Empire that Palpatine was preparing for. Interrupting the HoloNet feeds of Palpatine fighting Yoda, Anakin, the hero of the war, would speak to the people. He would say, "People of the galaxy, today the war is over. Palpatine, your former Chancellor and Emperor, has been exposed as a Sith Lord, a traitor to the galaxy. He corrupted your government, twisted the war in every way he wished, and he turned democracy into his own battlefield. And now he is dead, killed by Anakin Skywalker. He did what no one else could, ending him, ending his empire of lies before it could truly begin." But Anakin said the galaxy is in chaos. The Senate is in shambles. Fear and confusion threaten to undo everything they fought for. And so from this moment on, Anakin said he will lead them into a new era, not as a Jedi, as the Jedi cannot be trusted, but as the people's emperor. He claimed emergency authority over all galactic systems, claimed to restore order, saying he will not let another Sith or Jedi uprising rise from the shadows, saying he's fought on everyone's worlds, he's seen the suffering, and he will end it as Emperor Anakin Skywalker. All across the galaxy, people watched in a stunned silence. Some cheered, some panicked, some didn't know what to do. Anakin was ready to begin establishing his empire, but after this statement, Padme finally contacted him. She'd returned to Coruscant from Mustafar, where she went to find him. Anakin told her he was on his way to see her, saying their future together finally will begin. And in her apartment, Padme felt numb. Anakin, the man she loved and trusted, had truly become everything she was against. For his own mercy, she knew what had to be done, and Anakin would eventually arrive to the apartment building, but Padme was not here. She couldn't bear seeing him. Anakin was already dead in her mind, so when Anakin arrived to find Yoda and Obi-Wan, he once more felt the rage inside of him. His eyes narrowed as he asked what they have done with Padme. Neither Jedi said a word. Anakin ignited his red saber. Obi-Wan and Yoda did the same with their blades, and Anakin would strike first, launching at Kenobi with a brutal, powerful slash. Kenobi brought his saber to meet it, going into defense, backing up, allowing Yoda to leap in. Anakin was far stronger than either Jedi had ever seen him. Every swing of his blade was extremely lethal, smashing through Obi-Wan's tight defenses, twisting to throw Yoda away. Every time he jumped forward, their blades were clashing again and again in the apartment. Anakin cut through the couch and the chairs where he laughed with Padme. He smashed through the walls where he loved her and imagined their future, destroying each and everything in his way. Yoda leapt in, slashing low, trying to force Anakin to split his focus. Anakin twisted, blocking the strike behind his back, kicking Yoda away with a hard spin, and Obi-Wan circled in, keeping his distance, trying something else to bait Anakin into making a mistake. He began taunting Anakin, saying that he lost Padme. She does not recognize what he has become. Anakin turned to Obi-Wan, swinging violently. Obi-Wan backpedaled, narrowly avoiding the saber's arc, telling him he failed his child and his wife. Anakin roared, swinging again, but his anger made him sloppy. Obi-Wan knew it would. Yoda moved again, ducked low, jabbing for Anakin's knees, and both Jedi slashed together as Anakin was forced to step back, regathering himself. He went at Anakin again, telling him he has ruined everything with his lust for power. Anakin lunged, aiming a two-handed slash at Obi-Wan's neck, but Kenobi ducked, rolled, and slashed for Anakin's side, their blades locked. Behind them, Yoda stood, breathing heavily, and he made his choice. He launched himself forward, spinning at blinding speed. Saber aimed at Anakin's back. Anakin turned just in time, just as Yoda knew he would, impaling Yoda through the chest. Yoda gasped, but it worked. Before Anakin could yank his saber out of Yoda, Obi-Wan stepped forward, plunging his blade clean through Anakin's abdomen. Anakin's saber slipped from his hand. He looked down in disbelief, and Obi-Wan whispered an apology for the man Anakin once was, and he pulled the saber free. Anakin crumbled to the ground, life fading from his eyes. Obi-Wan fell to his knees, exhausted, sweat and blood running down his face, and next to him, Yoda's body faded away as he became one with the Force. Obi-Wan felt more alone than ever. The first week after Anakin's death felt like the galaxy stopped moving. HoloNets flickered with wild rumors, shipping lanes shut down, panic governors raised their own militias. Padme Amidala gave birth amid the confusion on a remote medical wing on Naboo. She would name the twins Luke and Leia, and for now she would leave them in the gentle care of her own parents, knowing that the fight for the future could not wait. The moment she got back onto her ship, she closed the chapter of private life and reopened the one of constant public service. During the first year, she got to work in the Senate once more, becoming a leader that stepped forward, offering equal seats to worlds once labeled separatist. She would find Ahsoka and the clone resistance, and she would work with them to free the senators arrested across the galaxy for speaking against Palpatine. When they were freed, Bail Organa and Mon Mothma worked together to rewrite new legislation. But soon, Imperial loyalists would strike back. Former Moffs fortified hyperlanes, trying to reactivate old Star Destroyers stored in Quat's shipyards. Padme continued working with Ahsoka to coordinate rapid strikes with the clone troopers back on their side. Ahsoka's clone forces liberated systems in swift battles, disabling slave rings on Kashyyyk, toppling a hated governor on Seleucami, and each victory drew more worlds into the growing coalition. Padme's calm leadership turned fear into hope. In coming years, Padme would convene a galactic concord on Alderaan. The gathering would help the scattered senators and resistance across the galaxy unite together. And as time went on, the Republic felt like it was finally refreshed after the war and the week of rotating emperors. Padme visited her children as often as she could, but Luke and Leia lived a wonderful early life on Naboo. Out across the galaxy, Obi-Wan Kenobi watched none of it. Wrecked with guilt, he slipped beyond the Outer Rim, settling alone on Aldhani, a world of pale cliffs, beautiful skies, and a life he could find peace on. Kenobi built a small stone hut near a thin water stream, meditating at dawn, and let months become years. The saber at his bedside would gather dust. The Force around him was distant, and he didn't often use the Force for anything. He was alone, just as he thought he now had to be. But eventually, Padme and Ahsoka would trace him down. 7 years had passed. They would land at night, and Obi-Wan would emerge from his doorway, robes faded, beard beginning to gray. The three of them would stand in silence, and Padme would soon ask Obi-Wan to come back to the galaxy, help Luke and Leia become who they are meant to be. Obi-Wan didn't know if this was the right choice, but when he felt into the Force, he could see Qui-Gon and Yoda urging him to become a Jedi once more, and he knew the path he would have to take. And folks, that is our story for today. I think I say this a lot, but I fought with what path to go down. At one point I was going to do Anakin becomes Emperor. At one point I was going to do, this would have been, maybe this is a different video altogether, but I was going to do Yoda leads one half of the galaxy, Sidious leads the other, and it's kind of just like a who stays loyal to Palpatine thing, but I think that's better suited maybe in the Clone Wars itself than after the Clone Wars, so yeah, maybe that's a different video for another day. But yeah, I mean, this path was fun. I thought it was cool to explore. It's a lot of fighting, but I don't know, this is maybe a horrible comparison. I've never seen Game of Thrones, but it was kind of just like the chair of the galaxy, the main leader of the galaxy, just rotating again and again in this video. You know, Yoda fighting Sidious, Sidious fighting Anakin, Anakin fighting Yoda and Obi-Wan, and ultimately just Obi-Wan being the only survivor, and then not taking that mantle that was open. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was definitely fun. Let me know what you thought. It was an idea I just kind of came up with on a whim, just thinking about stuff to do, and I don't know, the idea of Yoda attacking and the entire HoloNet broadcasting the battle was fun to explore. It's a fun idea, so yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know down in the comments what you want to see next. This is where I get most of my ideas, is down in the comments. So appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.